Hi, welcome guys to another session of Men's Mental Health Monday. I'm your co-host, Dr. Dorn.
And I'm your co-host, Dr. Q.
So, how have you been doing, man? 1 month and to the new year?
Yeah, it's been one struggle after another, but we're here, man.
Okay. Did you have any New Year's resolution or anything like that?
No, not really. I don't really feel like that helps. Because I think a resolution gives you an easy in and an easy out.
True.
I like more kind of thinking of something that I want to work towards and then checking in every month or something.
I feel you. Same for me. I've never really get into the whole New Year's resolution because I always feel like any day can be day one. It doesn't matter if it's January 1st or April 16th. You know?
And you're going to relapse.
You can always get, exactly.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen, totally. So today we have a good show. We're going to be talking about masculinity. So pretty much kind of define it, how does masculinity view in the Western world? And also what happened when that belief is being threatened. Yep. And then kind of draw the line between how masculinity is defined socially versus biologically.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's your take on this topic? What does it mean to you to be masculine?
Masculinity would be kind of what's portrayed, internally and externally to society in a way that's showing dominance, strength. You could say even mental fortitude, but we're going to challenge that a little bit today. Totally. But yeah, those would be kind of the things that kind of pop into my head. Just think of a freaking caveman or something.
Yeah, I mean, also for me, masculinity. Usually, for me, the way I view it, or the male portrait that I have in my life is, being independent, being a provider for your family, and also being a protector. Being that person always there to protect your family, and then like you mentioned, being the strength part of it. So yeah, but what happened when, we say, those beliefs are being threatened, and maybe you're not as strong as your partner, or maybe your partner make more money than you, so you're not really the breadwinner in the family. So how that affect men in general?
Right. So physically, if you're affected by that, what does that mean? I think that means not being able to go out to places that you enjoy because you're going to feel judged, right? No one's going to know, and everyone's in their own little world, so they're not paying attention. But in your head, I think that's where people go, right? So if they don't feel big, they don't act big, and then they don't feel confident. So I think that's one thing. But then I think also mentally, some partners are stronger than you, right?
True.
So if you feel like you're getting beat physically and maybe emotionally or something, I think it's going to make you even be more than. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that comes to mind is if you feel like you're masculine, mentally, right? Do you challenge people, or is it more you feel comfortable in yourself and you want to, like you said, protect, help people?
I mean, I think it comes to both parts, the self-esteem too. It's how do you view yourself? If you lack of that, so all those things we talk about, if you feel like you either not as strong as your partner, you can provide, that can definitely be, feel threatening in a way. So a big part of it, like I said, take a step back and realize, okay, well, why I'm feeling this certain ways, the way I'm feeling right now, that, okay, well, I can't provide as much my partner is doing it, right? So it's more kind of question that and kind of see where's that stem from, and then the part we talk about how society or maybe how you grew up, for me, I grew up in a household where, both my dad and my mom, they were providers. When my dad left Haiti and came to the state, I mean, as much she was, sending money to us, but my mom wasn't just sitting there not doing anything. She was working, right? She has her own business going on. So for me, I always view it, well, could it mean that masculinity, could also be applied to some women? Because my mom, she was that. She was both, I guess, feminine and masculine in my life, So for that, I've never really view it, let's say if I were with a partner and then she provides something, I never feel threatened by it because I've seen my mom done it, So for me, I feel comfortable in my own skin. Let's say if I go out with my girlfriend and then if she were to say oh, today it's on me, I'm going to pay for it, I don't feel the masculinity, the fact like she does, oh sure, go for it.
I mean,
it's all good. Like I don't feel threatened by it. I'm comfortable in my own skin because I don't view it that I have to be the one to always pay, take that check and sometimes sure I can do it, but if she wants to do it, that's fine with me. So in a way it's kind of like how comfortable are you in your own skin and what like people have told you of, because that's the part. Because at the same time, like I've heard stories where women say like, I only want to be with a man that can provide for me or that can do that. Like I won't be with a man that make less than me, certain type of thing. So if that's your social status or whether that's the social class that you go into, and then you have women telling you that, hey, I will not be with a man that make less than me, I can understand how that can affect your psyche. But maybe you just have to realize, well, maybe that's not the person you want to be with.
Right.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think there's a majority of people out there that don't necessarily fall into the category of being like hyper aggressive, hyper dominating, right? I think people have all over the place. Some people are a little more calm, relaxed. And I mean, you can still be masculine, like you said, be confident in yourself and who you are, but at the same time still be loving and caring, and even some feminine traits that are, stereotypical. It doesn't just mean like, oh, if you come to me and I don't like the way that no.
Exactly. And like you said, I mean, like it's more about being more comfortable in your own skin, accept who you are, and then understand like being masculine doesn't mean like you have to be you have to treat every conflict with violence. Right. No, you can still be humble, you can still be caring, have sympathy and all that, and then still be masculine.
Yeah.
So that's something I feel like as men going through life, we need to realize that. That definition of, Western world and how they want you to be masculine, you don't have to be like that.
I mean, because that is the main problem, right? If you're single and you don't have anyone around you, I mean, you're just you. Hopefully, you're not doing anything outside of your normal boundary. But if you start getting pressures like from your partner, from society, from social media, from all that stuff, you could probably still start acting a little weird, not yourself, just to make sure that you keep a front, right?
Exactly. And then talk about social media, that's the other outlet, right? Now, like, either, you have all those guys working out. I mean, I'll go to the gym a lot. I love working out. That's my outlet. I enjoy it. But it's crazy, like, you've seen kids, like, 16, 17-year-old kid coming in and, asking you, like, if they want to take testosterone and other hormones because they want to be bigger. Because for them, that's how they view as being masculine, right? That bigger size and all that, it's crazy. So that's another aspect of the world where it's kind of teach those young men about like, no, you don't have to be, bigger and all that to be viewed as being masculine. Right? Exactly. So there's a lot of work we need to be doing.
Yeah, and I think you can go a little deeper than that too. I mean, I think you could also be seen as like attractive, Mm-hmm. I don't think you have to be this huge, big, strong person. I mean, you can be that if it's within like your time constraints, money constraints, and if you want to do that, and you're not hurting yourself, things like that. But I think people will be surprised at how realistically, I think most women don't want a big, super veiny dude. They want someone that's a little bit more normal looking. I think other things matter to them more. I mean, guys, it's mostly like visual.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what guys gravitate towards. Not always, but usually, at least at first. And then I think for women, it's more of like, what's his personality like? Is he funny? Mm-hmm. And then the providing and all the other stuff kind of comes afterwards, unless, the social status thing like you mentioned.
Yeah. And then, but the reason why I feel like some of those young kids gravitate towards that like physical aspect because what you're seeing on social media. Because you have those other guys, I mean, there's plenty of them, don't have to say names, that kind of portray like how to be a man. And then, those guys will usually have like a bunch of women around them and do that. So for them, they kind of like feel, okay, well, if I want to get that status and women gonna like me, I have to be like that person. And that can go even beyond just like the physical aspect, but also like the way that those men treat women, the way they talk about women, right. So it's definitely like a, cult pretty much going on out there, right?
Yeah.
Because you have some of those guys that actually have their own school, right? They are teaching young men, how to
be abusive.
Pretty much, so we have to be really careful about how we go out and, and pick on those, like let those guys actually, teach those young men to be more, like you say, more abusive than actually being like a real man.
Yeah, I think that is a problem that's been kind of perpetuated more so because of, like you said, social media. I think people see things that they think they want. Not necessarily they may want, they may or may not, but I think they see something that they want and they go, "Oh, I want that. How do I do it? If I act the same way, I'll get the same outcome." But in reality, that's not the case, because that person, to get to where they at, a whole bunch of other things happened. It wasn't just an easy, like, you do this, and you get that. Not only that, but I mean, like, what do you want? Like, are you looking for a partner, or are you looking for, like, multiple people to spend time with? Like, what's the thing you're really looking for, right? I think what they're trying to sell you is like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. But in reality, it's just grass. It's just, what kind of grass do you want? Do you want grass that's going to, you have to make $5 million to support 30 women and somehow that brings you happiness? Or are you looking for, like, I don't know, even if it's not just like a, like a partner, like, to look for more like casual fun or something. I don't think you need to live that kind of lifestyle. And I don't think most of those people even live that kind of lifestyle. I think it's
probably not.
No.
Yeah. So how do we change that idea, right? For me, like I said, like I was definitely blessed in a way where even though my dad left to come to the United States when I was about 9 years old, I still have my mother being there and guiding me through. Do you think, like, the problem we're having now, or even way before with masculinity, is a lack of, like, role model, to those kids? So for you personally, like, what would you say, what was your role model growing up? Like, what was the men version in your life that guided you?
A kind of similar experience to you. Both my mom and my dad, both in some aspects kind of were the providers. A little bit differently, but weirdly enough, all the things that you don't like that your parents do, somehow you subconsciously bring in, and then you start doing.
Nature and nurture.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then you can, if you become aware, you can start changing it. But what it looked like to me was both parents worked. Both my mom and my dad, they were able to, break apart like the different expenses. But the difference in like how one another treated each other was something that definitely ingrained, right? My dad was a little bit more kind of stoic. Expressing emotions was not easy for him. And instead of expressing emotions, he would get, like verbally kind of aggressive. And then because of that, like my mom would just like, whatever, like you're just being moody, right? Which was dismissive. And instead of addressing the problem, they just kind of like butted heads and always would fight. And I mean, what did I do? When I eventually got married, same thing. Unintentionally, I'm never going to do that.
You learn, yeah.
But you do it.
Yeah.
And like now it's starting to realize like, okay, I'm starting to foster a similar thing. I don't want that. Because at the end of the day, like I want to have mutual respect for my partner. I want to be able to like have communication in fun ways, even if it hurts. Like if it's like something painful for me, like I'm not comfortable talking about it, I want to be able to bring it up. And at the end of the day, be enjoyable. Not fun, enjoyable. I love the pain. No, enjoyable.
Nobody though.
But yeah, so for me, it kind of looked like similar to you both. I mean, both were there, but they were kind of not there. Because they were always fighting, they're a little distant to one another. And I don't think that was healthy for me to like witness. Because then I think like, oh, like if I want to have, because they're still together and they've been together for like 30 something years. Yeah. I need to be like verbally abusive. I need to be dominating in some way, even though I'm not. And then emotionally unavailable, right? That's what I was taught to be successful.
Well, to be a man in that relationship.
A successful man, right?
A successful man.
But at the end of the day, that's not, because that's not nothing that I want. So that's one question. Second question, what do we do? I think you hit it on the head. I think we have to have role models. Yeah. And I think we have to have role models in communities where boys and young men can actually go like, that's what I want. Like, if, for example, if you went to a neighborhood where people didn't look like you, didn't think like you, didn't talk like you you'd be like, these are my people. I can't do this. This is way out of my league, or I don't want to do it. You know, and so you're like, that's nice. And then you just go on and you find kids to imitate.
Yeah.
Right? And then you perpetuate the violence and all these different things. Because, I mean, if you can't get what you want with the strategies you have, what's easier, be violent or try something new?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But talking about like the nature and nurture too. So like you said, I mean, you know, there's a lot of things growing up with your own household that you're gonna learn from your parents, and subconsciously, even though as much you're gonna tell yourself, I don't want to be like them. Yeah, you're gonna start acting like them, and you're like, oh yeah. And hopefully you can actually view it, you can see it, and stop yourself and say, yeah, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
But then also there's the other part where, you know, like the world that you live in, you know, the social media, or, you know, the TV, what kind of movie you watch and what kind of music you listen to. So it kind of also kind of shape you in a way, well, what do you want to be? But I feel like at the end of the day, like it's great to have a role model, definitely. But also understand that you have the ability to make your own decision about who you want to be. Doesn't mean like it's going to be easy. And then that's where you can actually apart from having a role model, but actually talk about those kind of stuff. See a therapist and kind of help you shape you into who you want to be. Because it's those two, right? The innate ability of what you learn at home and how the world around you. And also at the end of the day is you to sit down with all those information and kind of like decide who do you want to be as a person moving forward.
Yeah. I think you have to come to that realization. I think a lot of people can get there with help, and very few can get there without help. I think, like you said, a therapist would be a great idea. That way you can reflect. I think doing things like biofeedback would also be great, because it also makes you reflect and not take action. It just makes you just become aware of it. And then if you're going to go even a step further, I think kind of putting yourself in the shoes you want to be in is a wonderful thing as well. So if you want to be like some of these social media people, right? Play a day like that. See how people react around you. And I think quickly you'll realize, like, oh, this is not sustainable. And
Well,
it's
that
not
could
what
be a slippery slope, though.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Because, you know, the problem is like, unfortunately, there's people out there, like you talk about self-esteem, right? And, you know, some people probably gravitate towards those people because, you know, what happened with those guys, right? They kind of show you that, hey, they're assertive of themselves and whatever. So if you have some few women that like left having self-esteem, they probably gravitate towards that man and think like, well, I'm just going to follow him. But in the long run could be a problem, right? Because like you said, like women, when they look at a man, of course, there's all those other traits they like about them, like are you funny, are you caring, and all that, right? But someone that come in as being like a machismo type of guy, right? Like you like, I'm in charge, right? I want to do this. They kind of follow, but in the long run, you know, most of those guys, because they don't really care about those women, right? Because they want to have more and more and more. So then, like those women, hopefully they can get them to a point and realize, okay, well, this is not the kind of men I want to be with, right? Because all they're doing is just being abusive and and use me or whatever.
Right.
So if you still like go a day, they might do it and probably have some women that gravitate towards them. But it's more like on the long run, it's not gonna last.
You didn't let me finish though.
Okay, go ahead, finish. Because this is a try for one day. I'm like, hey, we gotta be careful. We don't want them to go out there and try to be, let me play and see if that's going to work out.
Try it for a day, but then try the other side.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. So that way you get to experience both. And I mean, there's going to be people out there that like doing the thing that we talked about, right?
Yep.
But I don't think that's sustainable for the long run. I think you could probably get, like you said, get away for it for a little bit. But then eventually people are going to find that you're toxic and they're going to want to just go away from you. Or worse things, you know, jail, who knows what else.
Sure. Yeah. That's
on that note. But yeah, no, so I definitely think that if you think you want something, try it for a day. But also look at the other side, because there's always a give and take. Nothing is 100%. True. If you want one thing, why do you want that? Because you mentioned like machisto guys, right? They'll attract other men because they think that's what they want. Are you trying to attract other men? Are you trying to attract other women? Like, what's the thing you're looking after, right? And I think that's the awareness piece. Like,
true.
What are you interested in?
No.
And so I think if you live a day in it, you have some experience with it, and it'll better serve you. I agree with you. I think it's much better to, instead of having to live like, you know, horrible things. But hey, everyone's different. Some people are thick-headed, and
that's true.
Yeah.
So the key point today, like being masculine, is definitely have to challenge the Western world of what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can be masculine at the same time, have other trait. You can still be nice. You can still be caring, and then be humble and still be masculine. It doesn't have to be. You have to be the person, the provider all the time, or
No.
yeah. So you can have both. And then the key point is to have role model in your life, like we talk about.
Yeah.
And then and if in your case you didn't have a family, like a parents that teach you those kind of stuff, you can always reach out to a therapist. There are things out there you can do. You don't have to go through it alone.
No.
And that's that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.